Hello, BookTube. Well, it's that melancholy moment. It's the last mail haul of the week, I think. Mail has been surprising me this week, but I think this is probably the last mail haul of the week. And it starts off with a couple more catalogs that I thought I would inflict on you. And the first one is the University of Minnesota Press. Very pretty thing that they do. And the odd thing about these regional presses, I mean, some university presses have so much money or have attracted such people or have such a mission statement that they are not regional anymore. No one would think of Yale University Press as a regional press, for instance. Whereas things like the University of Minnesota, the University of Nebraska, things like that do tend to be regional, or at least predominantly regional. So a huge number of the books in here will be Minnesota related or Upper Midwest related. But one of the things that's interesting to me, even about the most regional studies in the world, first of all, regional studies can be extremely valuable. History is made in regions. But one of the things that I find very interesting about these kinds of catalogs is looking at the choices that they make. They almost invariably make a couple of choices to reach beyond the regional, a couple of general interest choices, just hoping that one will take off. And I think it's always fascinating to see which books get that. And where they are in the catalog. I don't know. I would have to pore through this one, but I would imagine that they would be right at the beginning. There's a novel by Linda Lagarde Grover, In the Night of Memory. There's a book about Silent Cells, about drugging prisoners in America, about what the pharmaceutical industry's relationship with the prison industry is in America. That is certainly not regional. That would be fantastically broad. But then the next catalog is big. The next catalog is general, and that is Pegasus Books, my friends at Pegasus Books. And this is their summer catalog. And it is going to be, I review a lot of Pegasus Books. This is going to be, they're a wonderful general interest publisher, and this is going to be full of stuff that's, here's a memoir of Iceland. Wild Horses of the Summer Sun. Some historical fiction. Look at that. Lauren Johnson, a new biography of Henry VI, a British king who's not often studied. Fantastic. Alev Scott does Ottoman Odyssey, tracing out the old Ottoman Empire. A familiar gimmick. People have done it before, but it's always fun. Aisha Atkar, Our Symphony with Animals. Another book about the human-animal relationship. Short biography of Tchaikovsky. A book about the social lives of penguins. History by Christian Keller about Robert E. Lee and Stonewall Jackson and the Confederacy. Let's see. Oh, there's so much stuff here. Look at this. Guillaume Serena, An Impossible Dream about Reagan and Gorbachev. That will be a Reagan book, so I will certainly read it. I'm going to try to read everything, but oh God. Okay. David Head is doing a book on George Washington, The Crisis of Peace. How much do you want to make a bet? Washington is the hero. The latest Churchill book is Churchill's Menagerie, about the animals in his life, the unfortunate non-human animals in his life. Oh, fantastic. Oh, great. Emma Southam is doing a new book on Agrippina. A very classical looking new book on Agrippina. Great. Fantastic. That's Paul Strathern, a new book on the Borgias. Wonderful. And then we get to the summer. There's another William Shakespeare novel. We saw one already. This is The Assassin of Verona. These are finally appearing in America. And one of the things that I start to look for, in the Pegasus catalog is, of course, blurbs from yours truly. Because not only do I review a lot of books, and this catalog is going to include paperbacks, but for The Assassin of Verona, they also include a blurb from the Christian Science Monitor. That was mine. I loved it. Book on religion in America. A novel about the assassination of President McKinley. Great. And then we get to new paperbacks. Now, not all of these will have blurbs by me, because some of my reviews of these books were for Open Letters Review, where I let my hair down a little and I can be a little bit sharp-elbowed. Those don't tend to get harvested for blurbs. Like, for instance, this one, Max Leonard's Higher Calling. I wrote a very sardonic review of that book. I liked it, but my review was taking jabs left and right. It might have confused a publicist who was looking for just a blurb. But if I remember, I'll leave a link to it down below, because I had fun. I have lots of fun at Open Letters Review. It's a lot of fun to have your own venue where you can pick what you want to review and review it the way you want. It's not a call to be irresponsible, but it's a lot of fun to not have anyone looking over your shoulder at all. Okay, Jonathan Miles' book on St. Petersburg does not have a blurb from me, but I did review it, if I remember correctly. Wow, paperback on the Earth Gazers by Christopher Potter, a wonderful book that I did not get to. That always bothers me. You always have those where it's a book that you read, you really like, you want to review it, you want to bring it to the notice of as large an audience as possible, and you just don't get around to it. It happens, even though reviewing is all I do. It still happens. Oh, great. All right. Don Jordan's book, The King's City, with a nice Open Letters blurb. Very nice. And if those things are on the publicity page, they're almost certainly going to be on the book. I'll keep an eye out, but that's great. There's Mary Hollingsworth's History of the Medicis, also with a blurb by me, Christian Science Monitor. Wonderful. Elizabeth's Rival, about Letus Nollis and Elizabeth I. That'll come out in paperback. Great. The Seasonaires will come out in paperback. I like that book. I don't know why it didn't get more widely known. Laura Thompson's biography of Agatha Christie, a terrific book. Fantastic job. Okay, and that's it. So that is the Pegasus catalog. And now we have the mail. We have the aforementioned final mail haul of the week. And we're just going to hope that there are no orange-colored provocations here. Oh, okay. Okay. This comes out in February, right away. This is by Michael Winship, and it is Hot Protestants. The History of Puritanism in England and America. Not to be confused with Wayward Puritans, an older book that's now long out of print that some of you might remember, and it's quite worth your time. Let's see here. Begun in the mid-16th century by Protestant nonconformists keen to reform England's church and society while saving their own souls, the Puritan movement was a major catalyst in the great cultural changes that transformed the early modern world. Providing uniquely broad transatlantic perspective, this groundbreaking volume traces Puritanism's tumultuous history from its initial attempts to reshape the Church of England to its establishment of a godly republics in both England and America, and its demise at the end of the 17th century. And the author is the E. Merton Coulter Professor in the Department of History at the University of Georgia. And I can't wait. Of course, naturally. Any history of Puritanism is naturally right up my alley. I know a lot about that. It will be familiar territory to me. I'm always interested in new looks at it, too. Which it sounds like that will be. So, what are we going to do here? The bean is soundly sleeping, so she is not going to want to bother with paper goods, I don't think. She just soundly sleeps now. She's getting to the point where we've been together alone for an entire year. So she's getting to the point now where she's not quite a puppy anymore. She's starting to like just her rest and ease. All right, this next book is, say it with me now, an April book. You're all seeing this coming. You all saw it coming with October, and it happened, and I was completely overwhelmed. I read more than anyone in the whole frickin' world. I was completely overwhelmed. And it's clear that April is going to be the same thing. It's clear that I'm going to get overwhelmed again in April and be talking about it and complaining about it well into the summer. This is another April book. And this is Soon the Light Will Be Perfect by Dave Patterson. First of all, props to the cover. That is, it's not completely my cup of tea, aesthetically speaking, but it won't look like any other book on the shelf. So, good. And also, props to the title. It's not Fatal Allure, Dark Encounter, or any crap like that. There's an actual title here. Let's see here. Evoking the kinetic energy of We the Animals, a book I kind of liked, and the hardscrabble milieu of Hillbilly Elegy, a book I did not like, or even-keeled as we go into this. This book is a stunning original debut. So this is the author's debut novel. Good for him. That establishes writer Dave Patterson as a distinctive voice in contemporary fiction. This riveting read provides a searing look at a besieged family whose struggles with poverty and illness drive them deeper into their rigid Catholicism. Drawn from the author's formative experiences, the profound coming-of-age tale moves propulsively through a dark landscape with unerring vision and exceptional skill. Slow down there, Seymour. Why don't you just tell me about the book instead of reviewing it for me? It unfolds through the eyes of 12-year-old altar boy who lives with his parents and older brother in an impoverished Vermont town. Against the odds, they have at last achieved upward mobility, leaving the trailer park behind and setting into a house of their own. The unnamed narrator's father works at a weapons manufacturing plant where business is on an upswing thanks to the outbreak of the Gulf War. Then, his mother's cancer diagnosis implodes their world. Her chemo treatments are debilitating physically and financially. In the face of disaster, these Catholic hardliners become even more devout. They protest outside abortion clinics with increasing zeal, feed the less fortunate hot meals as they subsist on a diet of cheap frozen food, and cling fiercely to the healing power of prayer. Okay, and the author? What do we know about the author? He's an award-winning fiction writer, journalist, and musician and teacher. Where would he have won an award for fiction if this is his debut novel? Did he win for a short story? He received his MA in English from the Breadloaf School of English and an MFA in creative writing from the University of Southern Maine's Stone Coast program. And his writing has appeared in the Portland Press Herald, the Maine Sunday Telegram, and Slice magazine. He writes a weekly beer column for Maine Today. I don't do that. And he lives outside of Portland, Maine with his wife, 2 kids, and dog. Okay. So I'll be disappointed. It won't matter exclusively. It won't be a deciding factor at all, but I'll be disappointed if a little Googling tells me that his mother had cancer and that he grew up. If this is what is now known as autofiction, that'll be a little disappointing. It's a little disappointing when young authors who already have a cultural predisposition to navel-gazing decide that the only thing they feel like writing about is themselves. But that won't ultimately matter, right? As we've seen on this channel, that won't ultimately matter. Even if it is autofiction of the most egregious kind, it still won't matter if it's well done. And I'm hoping. Of course, with debut novels, my hope is endless. So great. Let's move on here. What is this next one? Okay. All right. This is, I think, Amazon. Yes. Is that Amazon? I want to make sure I know what I'm talking about here. But I think this is, yes. Okay. All right. This is Thomas and Mercer, which is the mystery imprint of Amazon, and this is Robert Dugoni, The Eighth Sister. Let's see here. What have we got? Amazon has many arms in original publishing, and they have an arm for mystery, thriller and mystery, and this is what Thomas and Mercer is. Let's see here. The best-selling author's legion of fans may recall former CIA officer Charles Jenkins, a character from his David Sloan series, whom the eponymous lawyer called on for investigative assistance in wrongful death. So this is a spin-off character from another series. In The Eighth Sister, Jenkins is front and center, and a man at the crossroads. Now in his early 60s, that's interesting, he and his family are living on a remote island off the coast of Washington, and he has a new baby on the way and a security consulting business on the brink of bankruptcy. Unexpectedly, his former boss at the agency shows up at his house with a risky proposition: travel undercover to Moscow and locate a Russian agent believed to be killing members of a clandestine U.S. spy cell known as the Seven Sisters. It seems like an assignment too lucrative to pass up. And desperate for money, Jenkins agrees to the mission and heads to the Russian capital. But when he locates the mastermind agent allegedly behind the assassination, the so-called Eighth Sister, she turns out not to be who or what he was led to believe. Okay. All right, I'm sold. Pursued by a dogged Russian intelligence officer, is there any other kind? Jenkins executes a daring escape across the Black Sea, only to return home and discover he's been abandoned by the agency he served. All right. Familiar stuff, but I'm all on board. Okay, great. So that comes out in, say it with me now, April. And that is the eighth sister. I wonder if it turns out that when he meets the eighth sister, he knows her from his time at the agency. Wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't it be something if the eighth sister was a Russian? I'll have to find it. I'll have to read it to find out. In April, I'll just go without food. I'll just do nothing in April but read. What is this next one? It's not an April book. It comes out right around the corner in January. This is the finished copy of Caitlin O'Connor and James Owen Weatherall's The Misinformation Age: How False Beliefs Spread. I think we saw the advanced copy of this. That is, of course, a jackalope on the cover. Those of you who come from overseas, especially non-English speaking overseas countries, if you go to the American West, you're going to see lots and lots of merchandise for the jackalope. And if you still have a thick accent from your home country and you ask about it, the locals may pull your leg. But I'm here to tell you, because on this channel you get nothing but the truth. The jackalope does not exist. No matter how many mounted heads you see, no matter how many videos, no matter how many scat samples that are on sale, you can get them. Absolutely, you should buy those things. Absolutely, because it's hilarious. But don't believe it, and kindly don't take it back to Lithuania or Russia or wherever and say that Americans believe it. It's an elaborate hoax that we know is an elaborate hoax. But this book's going to be all about all sorts of things that people don't believe are hoaxes. And that's going to be depressing. Why should we care about having true beliefs? Well, nothing better than getting straight at the heart of it. Why should we care if our beliefs are true? There's an obvious reason. Acting on false beliefs can hurt you. This is absolutely true. I'm not going to go on any kind of political rant, but a third of the country acted on the false belief that Donald Trump would replace their free government-provided health care with something better, because he constantly said it. He was obviously lying. You could see that he was lying, but a third of the country believed that, and now they have lost their free health care, and they have nothing to replace it. So that false belief did hurt them. So that statement is absolutely true. But then why do demonstrably false beliefs persist and spread despite negative consequences for the people who hold them? Okay, well, if these are the kinds of big questions that these authors are going to ask, this is going to be a very good book. Let's see. In this book, the authors argue that social factors, even more than individual psychology, are essential to understanding the spread and persistence of false belief. In an age driven by fake news, alternative facts, and disputes over the validity of everything from climate change to the size of inauguration crowds, I am trying to behave myself, but the age is not riven with those things. Donald Trump is riven with those things. He is not the age. There is no dispute about the size of inauguration crowds. The whole point of why people are outraged about it is because there isn't one. The Parks Department was told to lie about it. They didn't. They told the truth. Cameras don't lie. Time-lapse video doesn't lie. There is no riven here. That is just Donald Trump. It is essential to understand how those social forces work in order to fight misinformation effectively. Okay, well, that's very diplomatic. I think the social force that is involved here is lack of education. I think there's an informed way to look at the news, and there's an uninformed way to look at the news. And if you look at the news uninformed, you will get played by the news. And unfortunately, I think that's the social factor that's most involved. I'm not going to use the stupid euphemism that was everywhere during the 2016 U.S. presidential election, low information voters. I think that does a disservice to everybody involved. Information is readily available, and checking information is easy. But I'm not going to go down that road. So this is The Misinformation Age. Comes out in January. I will report back on it. It sounds very promising. Let's just barrel on before we get in trouble. What is this next one? Oh, fantastic. Okay, this comes out right in January, and it is a Penguin Classic. I occasionally, for those of you who are new to the channel, I occasionally get my beloved Penguin Classics in the mail, which is why that wall is so big. And this is a first for Penguin Classics. This is a book this is an introduction to the Penguin line of Cain by Jean Toomer. Fantastic. It has a foreword by Zinzi Clemens and an introduction